Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Season of the Fan with yours truly. Got a new tripod recently off Amazon. This is going to take a little getting used to, so just bear with me. First time putting it to use, but I think that's okay. Somewhat, maybe. We're alive. Um, at any rate, as we should know by now, the Eagles won yesterday against the Browns. 20-16 was the final in a score fest at the link. And the Eagles up their record to 3-2. They're above 500. Of course, they had the bye week last weekend, and I'm always one that says, I'd always much rather win than lose. But at times in the game yesterday, it didn't feel like it was a win. Again, the Eagles get off to a slow start offensively. They have not scored 8 points. You talk about all these playmakers they have on offense. They have not scored one single point in the first quarter of any game. They are now 0-5 in the first quarter. Pointless, I should say, in the first quarter of all the games so far this season. And now we're going into week 7. Eagles going to the Meadowlands, a place that Slim and I know pretty good from that disaster at the end of last season. But they will be playing on the New York Football Giants next Sunday in a place that's been tough for them to win in recent years. But, we'll see. Yesterday's game, obviously, no turnovers by the offense. They had a turnover on special teams. They had a field goal block return for touchdown by former Eagle Ronnie McLeod. That wasn't the greatest of things, but that's the only touchdown the Browns got. I mean, there is some positive from that, right? I was really happy with what I saw defensively, and I know the Browns aren't a very good offense. I mean, they just aren't. But I liked what I saw out of the Eagles' defense, in particular by two of our young players. Quinion Mitchell, again, another solid outing, although he probably should have had an interception if he didn't collide into his own player. Played a little Keystone Cops on that moment there, but he had another solid game. And DeJean, coming in his first start at safety, of course, the rookie out of Iowa, and he looks really good. And I know he's had some partial time in games so far this season in certain packages defensively, but now he is the full-time safety, and he looks really good. I know he still has to wrap up a little better tackling, but other than that, he was good. He was really good coming off blitzes. I like the fact that the Eagles sent pressure on Watson because listen, Watson isn't what he was with the Houston Texans early in his career, and but still, he's another one. Any quarterback in the NFL, if you give them time, they're going to be able to survey the field and make you pay. And I like the fact that this defense was aggressive. They were able to get to Watson. I think they had more sacks in that one game than they had all season so far. I mean, even Huff. We had a Huff sighting. Oh my goodness, a half a sack with DeJean in there. But they played really well, and honestly, it was good to see coming off that terrible performance in Tampa Bay a few weeks ago before the bye. And you're not going up against a great offense, but at the same time, you still have to play and you still have to make plays, and that's what this defense did. They didn't get any turnovers, but they did get to Watson and they caused some havoc. And late in the game, in a close game, when the Browns were driving and they were in the red zone or getting close to it, and I know the fans were loud and they caused a couple false starts. Great job by the Eagle fans as always. But the defense, bore down and they held the Browns to a field goal attempt instead of what could have been a tying touchdown. So a nice job overall. by the Eagles defense. I thought that Vic Fangio called a good game. Now, listen, offensively, as I said, they got off to a slow start, but they did make some plays. Jalen Hurts with a couple touchdown passes. Great to see A.J. Brown and the Slim Reaper back on the field. Of course, after missing some time, they did not play in the Tampa game, and you can tell their absence, Not a great game by the running game. Saquon, the Browns really kind of keyed on that. The thing about the Browns' defense, and I think it is worth noting, is that they're pretty good against the pass this season, and the Eagles had more yards in the air against that defense than any other team so far this season. So a nice job by Jalen to not turn the ball over for the first time this season in a game. And he made some nice throws, and there were some good plays there. I think the Smitty touchdown was a beautiful design, wide open, not a Brown within 10 yards of him after he made the catch, and he goes all the way, runs for a touchdown. I mean, A.J. Brown with some incredible catches. I mean, the touchdown grab and then the late grab at the end when they were aggressive. And it's one of those plays, it was late in the fourth quarter, Browns out of timeouts. It's a second down for the Eagles, and I'm thinking, all right, just let's run the clock, hand it up. And there goes Jalen back for a pass, and I went, oh, no. It was one of those, no, yeah, plays. But a nice pass by Jalen to put it right there, right in the breadbasket, right to AJ, who made the catch and sealed the game for all intents and purposes. A couple knee downs, and then that was it. There was no Joe Pisarcik on this play. Speaking of the Giants, we're due for another miracle in the Meadowlands, aren't we? I mean, this is like we've had quite a few of them over the years. I think it would. I don't know if my heart can take another one of these type of games, but. I think we're kind of overdue for another one of those. So, if they get one of those this Sunday, that'll be all right. But no, listen, it wasn't a perfect game. I did not like some of the play calling early. The first possession, the Eagles got the ball to start the game, and they run Barkley, who goes for about, a nice gainer. Doesn't get the first down, but, a nice little chunk on first down. And the next two plays, and listen, you're playing a Browns team that, look, they have a pretty good pass rush, right? Their biggest weapon is the edge rusher. So maybe in the first drive, I mean, yeah, if you ran for a decent gain, and then back-to-back passes, and they were incomplete, both of them. And not just incomplete passes, but like kind of lob passes. It was like, I mean, I get it. You're happy to have AJ and Devontae back. I get that. But why not just hand the ball off to 26? Let him make some. And I know it wasn't a great game running the ball for the Eagles. Saquon was pretty much held in check for the most part. He made some nice runs, and of course the brotherly shoves. They just, I just think it's hilarious when you see the other teams like linebackers or corners or safeties jump on the top of the pile and just go for a mosh pit ride. They just crowd surf on top. It's shades of Bobby Wagner last year. But obviously they're good at doing that. They still will be good at doing that. But the running game really wasn't there. But the passing game was, and Jalen made some nice throws. And there were some nice plays. And listen, you lose Dallas Goedert early in the game, and that's a big weapon out. I thought Calcaterra made some nice plays. And, yeah, I mean, you have A.J. Brown. You have, Devontae Smith. And we had a Dotson sighting this week. He had, like, his best game as an Eagle. He had, like, 20 yards receiving. But he made a nice play. I think it was, like, a third down play. And it was, like, one of those toe tap, sideline kind of catches. And it kept the drive going. So, a pretty good, good game by him, right? But I think Jalen had a pretty solid game, as I said. They left some plays out, right? I mean, obviously, look, the drive where the field goal got blocked, there was a lot of time, time issues by Sirianni. They had timeouts. They weren't calling timeouts. And they were like, a drive that may have been an easier field goal attempt instead of a long one. And when you have a long one, the trajectory of the ball is such where it makes it more, conducive for a block. Now, look, it was a great play, right? Just one of the all-time great, defensive ends making a play there. But at the same time, that could have been avoided. I just think some of the play calling again, 3rd and 1, and we're dropping Jalen back. And of course, and then he gets sacked, and that's what led to a long field goal attempt, and that's what led to the field goal block, and that's subsequently what led to the McLeod touchdown. And it's a tie game at half. It should never have been a tie game. And again, that falls on the coaching, that falls on the players for the execution, the poor execution. And yeah, it just was ugly, going in the half, and the fans certainly let the team know their displeasure at the link yesterday going into the half. A 10-10 game, and it should have been Eagles at least up 13-3 at that time. Wasn't meant to be. Look, they came back. They made, they did enough to win the game, and at the end of the day, that's really all you can do. There's no style points in the league, right? It's just you win, you lose, you lose. It would be awesome to just have a game where we can relax and win and big blowout when we haven't had one of those in like forever. I think it's been a year or so since we had something like that, right? What was it, like the Dolphins game, I think, last year or something like that? I mean, we every game has been close and tight and, a play here, a play there, or we get blown out. Right? It's like either or. Since that Dolphins game last year, the one of the Kelly Green games. Now, listen, I mean, to their credit, they've won some close games this year. They lost a close one against Atlanta, game they should have won. They got blown out in Tampa. Mixed results. I think that's at the end of the day what you can really say about this team so far this season is mixed results. We really don't know what to expect week to week. I can't really say with certainty what we're going to see on Sunday. It could be a great Eagles team. It could be a so-so Eagles team. You just don't know. Now, they do have some injuries. They got some injuries in the game. Jordan Mailata, Dallas Goedert, as I said. I think Slay also left with a apparent knee. I think it's a hamstring for Mailata and Goedert, if I remember correct. And look, Mailata, as we know, he's a big man, so this could take a little time for him to come back. And Goedert, I mean, who knows? There really isn't any updates on Goedert. I mean, he could be playing this week. He could be playing in a couple weeks. He could be playing in a month. I mean, who really knows, right? Hamstrings are tough. So you just don't know. But if he is out, you're going to have to, like they did in this game, you're going to have to spread the ball around and rely on other guys like a Alcantara, like a Dotson, right? It's great to have AJ and Devontae back. Absolutely wonderful to see them on the field again. They were a big reason why we won this game yesterday. But you got to, other guys got to step up. And I saw that yesterday, and it was good to see. It was good to see other guys stepping up. Sometimes when you have a player like an A.J. Brown and a Devontae Smith, I mean, other guys, it's like the old adage, right? You just watch. You feel like, oh, well, these guys, they're just going to take care of things. No, you need everyone. You need other guys to step up. In fact, those guys make the room for other guys to be able to step up because you can't cover everybody, right? You have to worry about Barkley. You have to worry about AJ. You have to worry about Devontae. And even if Dallas doesn't play, those are three big weapons, right? So that could open things up for a Dotson, for a Calcaterra, for guys that you're not like focusing your defense around, and maybe they make just enough plays to be the difference in a ball game. And that's what you would hope to see week to week. Listen, the offensive line has to play big again this week. The Giants have a really good pass rush. The one thing I think the Giants can hang their hat on so far this season is their defense has been playing pretty good. They lost last night to the Bengals in a close game. The Bengals had a late touchdown, but it was really a close game. The Giants on offense stink at home. They're just weird. Jones has really nice numbers on the road. And at home, he's just it's just a whole different thing, right? They settle for field goals a lot. I know they had a touchdown yesterday, but it's just a different kind of offense when they're playing at home. But their defense is pretty ferocious, particularly up front. And without Mailata, on Jalen's blind side, I recall a game many years ago when Donovan was the quarterback, and they had the turnstile. Right? Offensive line and Strahan and Human oh my God. It was just every other play was like a sack. So we're hoping that doesn't happen this week. let's not revisit that one. So hopefully whoever takes the place of Mulata does the job. Because the Giants, they're no joke on defense. They get to the opposing quarterback. They have a very good pass rush. But Saquon wants to have a big game against his former team, and maybe the Eagles are going to have to lean on that a little bit, right? Maybe you don't want to put Jalen in harm's way against that pass rush, and you can lean on your superstar running back a little bit to make some plays, to keep the clock going, to keep the ball in your possession. Now, the Eagles haven't really committed to running the ball that much this season. I think this is the type of game that maybe you do. And you know what? If you run the ball good, it's going to open things up in the passing game. When you have those two receivers, I mean, take your pick of poison, right? One or the other. And usually Slim Reaper has a pretty good game against the Giants. So hopefully that continues this Sunday. But we'll get more into that game, next week or whatever. We'll see how things go. 20-16, and listen, this game was not without its drama, right? It was not without its drama. It would not be an Eagles game without drama. And one of the big talking points after the game was Sirianni kind of, giving it to some of the fans at the end of the game. And we all know my thoughts on Nick Sirianni. I'm not a big fan. I was thinking about this the other day, and I know that this season of the fan is really for the Eagles, but I'm a Philly sports fan, as we all know, and I know what disappointment is being a Philly sports fan. We just had to go through it last week with the Phillies, and it got me to think about something. And there's a word that I'd like to use here, and that word is trust. And when I look at the teams in this town, why is it that when we get into the playoffs, when we have these big light moments, a lot of times we just don't seem to come through, right? It's about trust. When I look at the Phillies and I look at how they've lost, the last 3 years in the playoffs, 22 in the World Series, last year in the NLCS, this year in the NLDS, even after winning a division title and having one of the best records in the league, why is it that what is it about the bright light situations with this town, with these teams, that they just, more times than not, just seem to not come through? And there's that trust word, right? I look at Topper as the manager of the Phillies, and I do think he's done a lot of good since, getting that role a few seasons ago during the season when they let Joe Girardi walk. Topper does have a lot of does a lot of good, but there's still that trust, and I still question some of the decision making when it comes to the playoffs and the big moments, right? In 22 in Game 6 of the World Series, when it's a close game, you're only up by a run, but you're up by a run with your ace pitcher on the mound, and he pulls him, and he pulls him for Jose Alvarado, who promptly gives up a game. Basically, what equivalent to the game-winning home run by Alvarez and the Astros, who were a great dynasty team, and so sometimes you're just going to lose to those teams, right? But anyhow, the Phillies lose Game 6, and that's it for the World Series, right? Last year, of course, the big talking point, you've all heard it from me before, sitting in my seat in Section 422 at the end of the season, yelling from my seat, keep Kimbrel off the playoff roster, and they kept him on, and in a big moment in Game 4 in Arizona, the Phillies with a small lead, and Topper goes to, because he's a loyal guy, he goes to Kimbrel in a big moment, and here comes the home run, and Arizona goes on to win the game and goes on to win the series. This year again, in a crucial moment, in a key part, in a close game, a one-run game, Phillies up 1-0 in Game 4 in New York, right? And you had a situation where Hoffman gets out of a jam in the fifth inning, and they have a long half inning for the Phillies that didn't result in a run, but then he brings Hoffman back out there in the sixth inning, and he promptly, right, they load the bases, and then in comes Estevez, and then here comes the Lindor grand slam, and we lose 4-1, and that's the end of our season, right? 3 straight years where a decision by the manager, a questionable decision kind of cost them the game and cost them the series, and it ended the playoffs, right? There is, again, that question, trust. There is that word, rather, trust, right? And how can you question it sometimes, right? With the Eagles, listen, they have a lot of offensive firepower. They have a lot of star players on this team, right? But I don't know if I can trust the coach in the big moments, right? I don't know if I can trust him. I saw what happened last season, how the season just got blown apart, and he's the head coach, and the team look they tuned him out, and they quit. Basically, they quit on that season. They quit on the coach, and he's still here. And you see some of the decision making this season, and you see some of the things that have gone on, and it's, can we trust the coach? Can we trust the players in the big moments? I don't know, right? And it's the regular season, right? This team goes to the playoffs this season. There's that word again. There's that trust. I know they were in a Super Bowl just a few years ago. And in that Super Bowl, they had chances to win the game, and the coach made some mistakes. He wasn't as aggressive as he should have been. He punted the ball at one point where maybe you go for it in that situation. I mean, they won a Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 52 because they had a coach who was aggressive. Now, again, there's such a thing as being aggressive and such a thing as being uber aggressive. We have, we have certainly gave it this Sirianni at times when he left points on the board earlier in the season when they lost to Atlanta. Even in a win against New Orleans, there were situations where he left points on the board, went for it on fourth down, and they lost the game. But I figured I felt in the Super Bowl at that point, when you're playing a great team like the Chiefs, you got to keep your foot on the pedal. And they didn't. They let up the pedal in the second half, and the Chiefs went on to win the game. Again, there's that word, trust. The trust in the coach. The trust in the players, right? When I look at the Sixers, and I look at how we've failed year after year in the playoffs, it's that trust issue, right? Can I trust some of our superstar players to be superstar players in the playoffs? Joel Embiid is a great player. He has great regular season games. He does wonderful in the regular, and then the playoffs come and he gets hurt. And then he's not the same. He's not the dominant Embiid that we know he could because he's hurt. He has knee issues. He has, eye issues. Whatever the issues are, he gets hurt every year. Can we trust him to stay healthy, to get to the playoffs, to be that dominant force that we need him to be in the playoffs? Can he do that? Again, that's trust, right? The Flyers right now, their story still has to really be written. This generation of the Flyers. But we've seen other generations of the Flyers, right? And sometimes it's a roller coaster ride, right? And there again, there's that trust. Can we trust these players to do the things that they should be capable of doing in the playoffs to win? And I know it's very tough to win. Winning a championship is the toughest thing to do. Believe me, we know in this town, right? We'll win a title and then we'll go over a decade before we win another, it seems, all the time, right? I saw the Phillies win in '08, and then it was until 2017 with the Eagles, and that was their first ever Super Bowl. And it seems like we've been punished ever since. It's like, we can't have nice things in Philadelphia since we won that Super Bowl. It's like, but look, I will take it 10 out of 10 times. That moment was just too precious, right? But the old saying is, we'll take 10 years of suffering if we can just get this Super Bowl. Oh, God knows we've suffered. It's how many times these teams have kicked us in the gut since the Eagles had confetti fall on them, right? But that's what sports is. And not every city can be like a Boston, just wins all the freaking time, it seems, all those years, and then again the Celtics last year, right? Even like a Chicago, who had the Bulls those years, and then the Blackhawks became a dynasty, and they had a White Sox and a Cubs title, right? I know the Bears have been since '85, but, they've had a lot of titles. L.A. wins a lot, right? Tampa has won a lot, right? Some of these places, it's just like, but they just keep winning. And then the rest of us have to kind of think, it must be nice to not have to worry so much. Now, Kansas City, right? The Chiefs are a dynasty, right? And they had the Royals winning not that long ago. But there again, there's that word trust. And when you're in cities that win a lot, you can trust your coaches, you can trust your players, you can trust your front offices to do the things that you have to do to win titles. And to win titles, you have to have a lot of luck. You have to have a lot of skill. But you have to have a lot of trust, right? The players got to trust the coaches and vice versa to make those plays, right? When Nick Foles told Doug Peterson in the timeout, hey, how about Philly? Doug Peterson had to trust his quarterback to make that play, and vice versa, right? And it worked. But then when we had a situation in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 57, you had Jalen Hurts fumbling the ball, and not a great time. Return for a touchdown, right? There it is. There it is, that trust word. Can we trust our quarterback not to have the big turnover at the wrong time, right? Or take momentum away, give it to the other team. It's a difficult thing, and I am happy that I saw the Eagles win one. I'm happy I saw the Phillies win one. I would love to see the Sixers. That just goes without saying. I've suffered so much. it's you can have a 30 for 30 based off what we've had to go through with this team from the process years to today. And the Flyers too. It's been 50 years since they won a cup. And that's, it doesn't get as ballyhooed as it does in Toronto or when the Rangers went 50 years, because the Flyers aren't one of the original 6 teams, or when the Blackhawks were having their drought. But 50 years is 50 years. And I know we came close sometimes. I've seen them in 2 finals. We lost both of them. They've been to other finals. They always seem to play the juggernaut team for whatever reason. We can't play like a Nashville or like a Utah. I don't know. I'm like drawing straws here, right? Winnipeg. Can we play one of these? It's always a dynasty. It's either they're the dynasty when the Flyers play them, or they become a dynasty right after that. Like, can we just? It was great to beat the Patriots, but I will take it against anyone against the Flyers. I just want to see it. The Sixers too. Would it be great to beat one of the all-timers? Yeah, but I've dealt with the Kawhi Leonard quadruple bounce shot. I've dealt with the Ben Simmons. I've dealt with the hurt Joel. I've dealt with so much. If we play some team that just magically made their way in there and we win, all right. I'm not going to go with style points in this one. We don't have to beat like a dynasty. It can be anybody. just give me one, damn it. By the way, shout out to Doug Collins making it to the Naismith Hall of Fame. He was a terrific Sixer, back in the day, and of course he spent a little time behind the bench, as a coach or whatever, but more known as a Sixer as a player. But certainly well deserved for Doug to get into the Hall. I still want to get a Doug Collins Sixers jersey, to be honest. Maybe I'll get True to do it. That's one jersey from the 70s that I would love to have in my ever-growing Sixers collection. The teams let me down a lot, but the Sixers jersey collection is pretty fire. I got all the errors involved, and I'll get to that collection at some point. You'll see it all. But there again's that word, trust, right? There's got to come a time that we put things together, and as many times as these teams just kick us, just continue to just one after another, it's like we want to be that we want so much to be the city of champions, and we're just the city of collapses. Instead, it's every year. It's the Eagles last year, the Phillies now, the Sixers have done it many times. Just after another. It's like, get me off the merry-go-round. And I want to enjoy the regular season. I do. I watch enough of the games. I go to games. But anymore, it's really about, okay, whatever we do in the regular season, all right, but what are you going to do in the postseason? Because that's when it really matters. That's when the lights turn on. What are we going to do then, right? And it's different for each team, right? For the Sixers, they just want to fast forward through the regular season. Okay, what's going to happen this year in the playoffs? How are we going to be let down this time? What injury is Joel going to have going into the playoffs this year? What team are we going to... We've collected teams to lose to over the years, like I collect jerseys, right? Last year it was the Villanova All-Star team with the Knicks. We lost to the Raptors. We lost to the Celtics a few times. We lost to the Hawks and Trae Young's bad hair, right? We keep... It's just one team after another. But that's the mantra, right? In football... Yeah, it's different because it's a week-to-week thing, right? It's one game a week. I think that's why it's still separates from the other sports because there's so many games during the week in these other sports. Football, you got one shot. So you better make it count week to week. And Lord knows we have enough to talk about week to week after these games. In baseball now, it's going to become that. It's going to become like the regular season, as long as it is, as many games as there are. We're going to be pushing through the regular season and say, okay, but what are they going to do in the playoffs? What are they, in a way, the Phillies have kind of started becoming the Sixer territory. I don't know if that's very good, but they've kind of done this now. Whereas, all right, we know we're probably going to be good enough to have a good enough record to get into the post. Now it's going to be, what do they do? And now the question is going to be, should they win the division or not? Should they be or just be a wild card? Even though 3 of the 4 teams that are left now are all division, 3 of the better teams, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Guardians, right? They didn't get in as wild card, and they're all there, and the Phillies were the one that pooped the bed. That just, but that's going to be the thing. And the fear going into the playoffs, and we were rightfully so, was what's the offense going to do? Are they going to show up? And obviously they didn't. They showed up for like a part of a game. That was it. So no matter what they do in the regular season, what offensive numbers they have in the regular season, it's never going to matter now. It's going to be, but can they do it in the playoffs? Can they do it in the playoffs? Can they do it in the playoffs, right? That's going to be the mantra. Again, there's that word, trust. Can we trust them to do this? Can we trust them to do this in the playoffs? For the Flyers, it's a little different. And I think it's kind of interesting with the Flyers because they're kind of still on the ground floor. There's not a lot of it. There's some expectations. We have expectations for Mishkov that might be a little too high for a player of his age and coming into his first season. But it's exciting, right? It's that player that we've wanted something like this for so long. So it's different for the Flyers. There's not that kind of expectations. We're not talking cups right now, right? We're talking, well, we hope they make the playoffs, right? We hope they can get in and have some experience for the young kids, right, on the team. But it's a different thing where I think we can enjoy the regular season because it's about watching the growth of the young players, particularly like a Mishkov or a Jetlachenko or, some of the Forrester or some of the other young players that they have. So that's where it's a little different. The Sixers is like, we know. We know what they are. They're good in the regular season. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to have all-stars. They're, Joel, they're going to load manage. Right? All right, this is what they're going to do. They're going to be in the playoffs, but then comes the pain. And with the Eagles, it is a week-to-week thing. So it's a little different with them with the regular season, too, because you gear up for the games because it's once a week. It's one game a week. And whether it's against a division rival like it is this week, the Giants, or if it's like a Jaguars or, whoever, the Rams, whatever, it's still something to look forward to week. But we go into it with some trepidation because of that. There's that word again, trust. We don't know if we can trust this head coach. Certainly I don't. So each season is kind of interesting around here now, right? You got the Sixers. We're just waiting for the spring. You got the Phillies. We're just waiting for October. And, are they going to do what they've done and not show up offensively and waste good Wheeler starts and just the Mets. Shout out to Anthony. But anyhow, that's going to be the question now. And as unfair as it is, that's how it is, right? That's why I think it's interesting when you have a team like the Flyers where they're not there. We want them to be there, but it's going to be interesting to see the growth. It's going to be interesting to see what hopefully we hope is a rise. Whereas we can look forward to regular season games with them now, right? The Sixers is like, all right, so you beat the Bucks and Celtics in the regular season. That's all good. What are you going to do in the playoffs? Joel, can you stay healthy this time? You got to be healthy? No? Now, I will say this for the Sixers. Injuries are notwithstanding with Joel. It's like taxes every year. It's going to happen, right? But he's still a treat to watch, but also Maxey. And again, there's that word trust. I feel I can trust Maxey. That he's one of those, he's a bright light player. He's still young. There's still some things for him to learn. But he was an all-star last year, first time, and he showed up at some games in the playoffs. He showed out. I think I can trust Maxey. I know what I'm going to get from Tyrese Maxey playoff series to playoff series. Now the question is, what's Joel's health going to be? A healthy Joel, or as healthy as he can be that time of year, and a Maxey, and now you add up Paul George and you add some other good role players on the team, hey, maybe there'll be some, right? Hope springs eternal, right? Even for the Sixers. So we're going to see. But I really like what I've seen in Tyrese Maxey over the last few years, and that's one of the things I look forward to seeing game to game during the season is that guy play, And yeah, Joel, we're going to have the great moments, right? He had 70 points in a game last year against Wemby, right? He had some big performances, and then he got hurt, and then everything went to hell. But, outside of that, listen, we got a great year from Tyrese Maxey, and we've seen more growth from him, right? And that's something that, again, that's trust. We know we can trust number 0. It's number 21. Can we trust him to be healthy? Probably not. That ship's probably sailed. In fact, he's not even playing in the preseason. It's already begun. It's just that I'd rather him not play in the preseason. We know. Well, he doesn't need preseason games. Let him come in the regular season and load manage, whatever it is. I don't need another MVP from him. I need a finals MVP from him. That's the next MVP I want to see Joel Embiid win, is a finals MVP with a Sixer uniform on. Okay? I don't want to see it in some other uniform. That wouldn't be good. But no, I would imagine he'll probably retire a Sixer. But listen, again, there's that word trust. And that's really what the theme of this video is. And in this week's video, I should say, for Season of the Fan and for the Eagles. And I know I've thrown a lot of Philly sports at you, but that's just what I'm going to do. But this series is really mainly for the Midnight Green, in some cases the Kelly Green. I want to trust the coach. I just don't think I can. Because I still see the same mistakes. I still see that, and he brings up the brother, and he brings up the high school and the college days, and yesterday with the kids at the press conference to deflect, some of those tough questions that we're gonna, and they gave they gave those questions today, and look, to his credit, he apologized about whatever with the fans yesterday, and but that's just not a good look. I mean, listen, if you're jawing back at the fans at the end of the game when you can only beat the Browns by 4 points, where's your mind during the game? Is your game on what people are saying behind you and many rows behind? Or are you focused on the game? I mean, you're a head coach. It's a game. Well, where's your mind? Is it what the fans are telling you, what they're chanting, or is it what's going on in the field? It's got to be what's going on in the field. It's got to be what your team's doing. Forget about the fans. And he does this in the road games, too. It's one of the things that drives me nuts about him. And I don't want to come in here in a game on a day after. Listen, they won a game. Like I said, Jalen had a nice game. It was great to see the receivers back. They both made plays. Great game by the defense. I was really happy with what I saw by some of these young players. Again, we talk about trust. I like the young secondary that they have, some of the young guys they have in the secondary. I think we can trust those guys. I think Mitchell and DeJean are two guys that we can trust going forward. But can I trust this coach? Can I trust Jalen week to week to secure the football? Right? To not make the big turnover at the wrong time of the game. I don't know. Right? And I'm a fan of Jalen. I want him to succeed, right? Listen, if Nick Sirianni succeeds here and the Eagles succeed and they go on and win another Super Bowl and have a lot of success, okay, I'll really be happy that I was wrong. But at this point on October 14th of 2024, I just don't know if I can trust this coach. And I want to be proven wrong. But so far, I haven't seen anything that can prove me wrong so far. I just don't know if I can do it. I need to see more. I need to see him more locked in, not worrying about what fans are telling him behind in the stands, whether it's a home game or road game. Don't even acknowledge the fans. Your job is to worry about your team. Yeah, fans are going to chant what they're going to chant. Guess what? Fans have chanted stuff for years against any coach. Sirianni's the only one that's actually acknowledged any of them. Can't have that. That's not being a professional. I need you to be the leader that we need on this team. To coach these guys up, to have the right game plan week to week, and to make sure that the players on the field are executing the game plan, not worrying about what fans are saying behind you. It's embarrassing to see that. I'm watching this game at the end, and all of a sudden he's turning around and he's going like this and jawing at the fans. I'm saying, yo, what are you doing? First of all, this ain't the town that you want to get the fans against you. I'll tell you that. This ain't the one. You're never going to win that battle. It just makes it worse. I need to see more out of this head coach. I'm not just going to be satisfied with a 20-16 win against the lowly Browns to say, okay, I need to see more. I need to see more the weeks going forward in winnable games against the Giants and against the Bengals and against the Jaguars. I need to see more. It's a winnable division. I know that Washington's playing really well. I get that. They are a really good team, and they believe, and they have a really good young QB and a solid coach. And they're firing on all cylinders. That's going to be a tough team to beat. We always have trouble with Washington year to year. We always seem to split with them, so it's going to be tough. It's probably going to be a battle. All due respect to the Giants and well, I never give respect to Dallas. The heck with them. But it's probably going to be a battle between Washington and Eagles for the division. It's probably going to come down to the end. But I need my coach. I need this team as a unit, as a collective unit, to be focused. Don't worry about the outside distractions, particularly the head coach. That's just not a good look. That looked foolish. But again, I've used this word 100 times in this video, and I'll use it again. Trust. I want to trust. And he's got to prove me otherwise to this point. Like I say, man, I always take the win. It's a week-to-week thing. I mean, I'd much rather win than lose. Even if it's an ugly win, I'll take it. It is what it is. I want to see improvement. I want to see better play. I know they got some injuries, and they're just going to have to deal with it. I mean, it's league. I mean, look, the Lions yesterday lost their all-world edge rusher in Hutchinson. He's out for the season. So injuries are going to happen in this league. You have to overcome it. The Eagles overcame it back in 2017 to win a Super Bowl with all those injuries. Kansas City's done it. Other teams have done it, right? So you're going to have to overcome things. But there, again, falls on the leadership of the team and the leadership of the coaching staff to keep the thing afloat. And we're going to see if they can do it. We're going to see. Not an easy game, I don't think. Some people think this might be an easy game this week. I don't think it's an easy one against the Giants. Giants have played better in recent weeks. Maybe offensively they're not as good as home as they are away. But, again, if you give him a chance, if you don't get to Jones, if you just let him survey the field, he's going to, any quarterback in the NFL is going to pick you apart. So I want to see what I saw this week against the Browns. I want to see a continuation of it. I want to see them get pass rush on Jones. I want to see them, wreak havoc in the backfield, right? I think that 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 Saquon's going to come into this game, wanting it so much, right? That former Giant, he's, yeah, they kind of did him wrong in the offseason. He's coming back, to exact some revenge, and I hope he does. I really do. He didn't have a great game yesterday, and, he's even more motivated now to have a big one, right? But I think the coaching staff needs to use it, and I think they need to commit to running the ball this week. And I know it's something we say, and they never do it. But I think if there was a week to do it, it's certainly this one. Because you have a running back that wants to prove it against his former team, a very good running back that wants to prove it against his former team. You have an offensive line without Mulata. And you want to protect Jalen a little more, right? Don't put him in so much harm's way. Good pass rush, the Giants. And how do you be a pass rush? You run. You run at them. It takes away the blitz. It just, if you have success running the ball, it negates that pass rush. And hopefully the Eagles can do it. Will they, though? We'll see. Obviously, the game's not till Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox, and Saquon's return to the Meadowlands, so we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I hope the Eagles can kind of, build some momentum, which is such a big thing, if you can do it, and, build off this win and try to get 2 in a row. They haven't won 2 in a row so far this season. I mean, it's been win-loss so far, so hopefully that trend doesn't continue this week, but, we'll see. Hopefully we can bunk that trend and win, go back-to-back wins for the first time this season, and, see how things go. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching here. 46 minutes plus. Week 6 in the books tonight. The Bills and the Jets on Monday Night Football. Eagles do get the win again. They're 3-2 with a thrilling 20-16 win against the Cleveland Browns. But hey, they won the game, and that's what's important. And nice game by Jalen, and it's great to see those 2 stud receivers back. All right, everyone. Well, what do you always got to do, right? You got to leave those likes, like, and subscribe. Again, I am trying to get the 2K subs by December 31st, 2024. So you all can make that happen by keep hitting that sub button if you already haven't done so. Tell your friends, tell your family, and you also want to help hit the bell icon so you get notified all future content from yours truly. That's going to do it for me for now. But go Birds, and I will see you all in the next one. All right, everyone, take care. Trust you will see me again pretty soon.